Well, welcome back to Football Frenzy. The St. Mary's Blue Devils are riding a hot streak coming into tonight, having won their last 4 games by more than 100 points.
More than 100 points. They've been doing pretty well. The Ritchie County Rebels have had a tough season so far, but they did have some momentum coming into this one. But let's head out to Ellenboro and see what's going on.
Teams would punt on their first 2 drives. Here's an INT. Big defensive play by the Blue Devils. It'll be returned all the way down to the 1. Then Jeremiah DeMoss punches it in, 7-0. Blue Devils. Then the Rebels would answer. Turner Shriver finds Jenner Keene deep for the TD. He'll take it all the way. Rebels would convert for 2, make it 8-7. Blue Devils respond on a 4th down conversion as DeMoss finds Eli Cox wide open. They forgot about him. Where's the defense? Touchdown, St. Mary's, 15-8. Shriver finds Keene again in the corner of the end zone for the response, 16-15 Blue Devils.
Both quarterbacks were slinging it around.
They absolutely are, yeah. A lot of offense here. Blue Devils respond with another rushing touchdown from DeMoss. Blue Devils again would get the ball back, and Eli Wilson gets them into the end zone just before halftime, make it 30-16. St. Mary's continues to roll. They go on to win 51-16.
Well, Griffin, let's head out to Racine as the Eastern Eagles travel to take on the Southern Tornadoes. We pick up action in the second quarter with the score 6-7 as Eastern running back Kyler Basham takes the handoff, eludes multiple defenders, and he runs it in for the Eagles touchdown. The Eagles now up 14-7. This time, it's Ethan Edwards for the Eagles taking the handoff, and he powers it home for another touchdown, 21-6. After halftime, it's Edwards taking the handoff again, and he'll hit the edge and find the end zone for the second time tonight, 28-6.
A lot of speed
running
out there.
it up here. Eagles Parker Durst, you'll see him here, get through a couple tackles, zigzagging his way, big gain on the play to get themselves down into Tornado territory.
There he goes.
The Tornadoes do have a positive play here, though, as running back Jackie Wickline takes the handoff and picks up a nice chunk on the play for a first down. Eastern back on offense. Guess who? It's Edwards again who fights his way to the goal line, just stops short of the end zone. The Eagles would go on to win this one by the final score of 35-6.
Edwards has dominated all year. That kid is a beast. All right. To Belpre for a TVC matchup as the Golden Eagles are hosting Waterford. Cats already up 7-0. Avery Potmeyer rolls out looking for a big play. He'll connect with Weston Fairchild downfield into the red zone.
Want to talk about a beast? Weston Fairchild.
Yeah, another guy too. Yeah, shortly after though, Potmeyer calls his own number, lowers his shoulder, and he is in. Waterford up 2 scores. Next, Belpre possession. Malik Curry mishandles the snap, and Maddox Antill pounces on it. Cats take over. Waterford would take advantage. Handoff goes to Hayden Jones. He bounces to the outside and is in the clear. Nobody will catch him as he runs it in for 6.
Look at the wheels on that kid.
The kid can fly too. Yeah, Waterford would get it back. Potmeyer hits Fairchild over the middle. He'll throw out a mean stiff arm. Look at this, Andrew. But the ball comes out at the end of the play, and Jaden Gibbs has it for the Eagles. Cats, though, win it. 57-14.
Don't care about the fumble. Awesome stiff arm, Weston.
Agreed.
Let's head out to Williamstown
Heisman.
as the Yellow Jackets hosted the Doddridge County Bulldogs in a fun one here. Doddridge County up 8-0 early, but the Bulldogs take the handoff, and it's fumbled as linebacker Colin Jones dives on the loose ball to set up the Yellow Jackets in great field position. Williamstown would capitalize here on that next possession. Quarterback Breck Allen keeping it himself. He makes a nice little dance move here, and he cashes in on the Bulldogs fumble to cut that lead to 8-6. The Bulldogs would respond, though, as running back Caleb Hall takes the pitch, and he'll be met at the goal line, but he gets in for the score, extends that Doddridge lead. In the second quarter, the Yellow Jackets would respond as Allen finds his man, Jenner Burge, wide open down the field for the touchdown to keep them within striking distance.
Absolutely.
The Bulldogs would respond, though, as Landon Thomas is wide open with acres of space down the sideline. He'll waltz into the end zone untouched to keep that Doddridge offense humming in the first half. Williamstown would put up a valiant effort in this one, but they fall to the Bulldogs by the final score of 40-26.
Williamstown struggles continue. All right, in other scores, Frontier finished their season strong with a 32-21 win over River. Athens loses for the first time this year, 27-12 to Nelsonville York. That may put the Bulldogs in jeopardy of missing the playoffs. Ravenswood would fall in their game against Clay County 41-0. Morgan making a strong push to get themselves into the postseason with a win over Philo on the road, 21-12. And finally, Wirt County won big over Valley Wetzel by a score of 42-6. Well, coming up next on Football Frenzy, Rick Marshall caught up with Marietta head coach Mike Kuffner after their big win over Warren.